You are listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts, a podcast featuring two crafty besties who love true crime and a good cup of joe.
Pew, pew, pew,
Pew! Voila!
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I need more coffee.
Yeah.
I need to drink.
I got some coffee. I needed some because I had a late night for me.
Mm-hmm.
I had a real date.
Kristen went on a date, you guys.
I think
I didn't want to say
hell
anything.
Froze over.
I didn't want to say it. I wanted her to say it.
Yeah.
Went on a date.
With my boyfriend.
She has a boyfriend, y'all. I've been waiting for that announcement too. Kristen has a boyfriend. Okay, that was my song for you.
I do. And he's got to be pretty great if I have a boyfriend. So
we set the bar very high for Kristen.
Mm-hmm. And all the things on the list.
Yeah. She told me about it. I was like, huh?
It took me so long to tell you too.
She waited so long, but like I still wasn't mad because I was like, she was making sure.
Yeah. I really had to make sure.
But y'all,
he's a good one, you guys.
I'll say hi to him. I think he listens. And I'll say he's dorky enough for her.
He has
I've
dated under my intelligence most of my life.
Is not okay.
He meets and a lot of times exceeds my intelligence. So I'm very
this is a very
happy
big
about
deal.
that. It's huge.
Very big deal. Plus he's way taller than her, which is also cool as fuck.
Because I'm tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word.
He's very, very tall.
Yay!
So anyways, I won't talk too much about it.
You went to a fucking comedy club, y'all.
Wow.
That's so fun.
I love this comedy club that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Ben Roy came out to it. That was fun. I went to last summer-ish, I think. But it was fun.
That's awesome.
It's just way past my going out time. I am not a vampire. I do not go out in public at night. And we were out until 11:30, you guys. Oh my goodness.
I was still watching, I don't remember what show. Some stupid remodel show. I don't know. Anyway, Kristen was out gallivanting around the town.
Yes, I was a woman about town.
I was surrounded by dogs and a snoring husband.
Yeah, but he's a cute snoring husband.
Yeah.
So
he has a really cool beard too. So
is it big and bushy right now?
It is extreme, and he's like conditioning it. It makes men jealous.
Wow.
It makes my dad.
I mean, I've always known Ben to have a beard mostly,
but like it makes occasionally my dad jealous.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Wow.
His beard is not as full or as lush as Ben's. Anyway, enough about our love lives.
Yes, I actually have one. I haven't had one.
Kristen,
this is a real one.
She didn't think she would ever have a real one, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make him a tweed jacket.
He would rock a tweed jacket.
Maybe just a hat, because I don't know how to make jackets. But carry on.
I'm drinking coffee.
Oh, well, I hope so.
Yes. This one, it's from the TBD Coffee Company, which is based out of Temecula, California.
Y'all should look them up.
Close to home. It's the Calavera roast, single origin Mexican coffee, and it's quite yummy.
The reason that I found that one, because yes, I sent that to her.
Yes.
The artwork on the packaging drew me in.
The other one, I think I know what you're talking about.
It'll come in soon, I'm sure.
Probably my next episode. I'm
okay,
use
good.
That one.
So I won't say what it is because it's fucking funny. But yeah.
Yes.
Sweet.
Artwork. So this week, all week, I was doing last weekend I did directed drawings with said boyfriend's son. And we did some really fun ones. I'll send you pictures.
Okay.
Where'd it go? Happened. We did some really fun ones. Yeah. We all did octopuses. You see?
Oh my gosh, adorable.
They're cute.
Love it.
He and I did a velociraptor. I needed a little bit better. He's kind of funky, but
nice.
So he's 6, guys. So I probably should throw that in there.
That's so fun.
It was fun. We had a lot of fun. So we did that. And then I also, on my own, what did I do?
The new merch.
Yes.
Y'all. Kristen made
it started.
It's based off of It's Never a Mannequin, but we didn't want to use that because everybody's using that.
Yeah.
So we said, I thought it was just a mannequin, and the artwork is fucking amazing. And it's so amazing that I quickly digitized it and got it onto some new merch, which is already available in our shop. So click that link.
Buy it.
Click those links. Oh, it's so cute.
I know.
Anyway, it's like a tree stump with zombie legs coming out, and it's got little mushrooms around it, and it's so freaking cute.
I love it.
I love it.
So we did that, and then you changed up our merch, and we have a backpack for sale.
And y'all,
amazing! It's so well. This is what the students said. They said it was fire, and they were finna buy it.
I gotta tell you, will you tell them that is like a huge compliment?
Yes, it is.
And I said thank you because there are so many ways that could have gone.
Yeah. And then when I told them that the inside has yellow in it, they were like, whoa.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
yes.
Super awesome backpack and new artwork.
Yes.
And I'm working
tank tops.
I'm working on some other stuff. I have the drawing. It's our skull, but not in a mug form.
Oh.
With, I don't know if you can see.
Sort of. Oh, yes, I see a moon and some stars and maybe some landscape.
It's a desert.
Okay. Yeah.
So I drew that up. I sat down and did art with Haley this week as well.
Oh, fantastic.
This week was a lot about doing art with kids.
That's awesome.
So,
oh my gosh. Kristen,
yeah.
when you retire, you should do art with kids.
I would like to. I also this week, I had to buy a new sketchbook, sketch pad, because I found out one of my students likes to draw and sketch, and he is the oldest of 7 kids.
Oh my God.
So I gave him I gave him my sketchbook out of my backpack. So I had to get another one. But yeah, all about art and kids and teaching and helping people understand that doing something creative and doing art or painting or drawing or spinning yarn and crocheting, any kind of art form is so good for our brains and our mental health. It is what gets me restarted for a whole week. Like I need art. I need to be creating.
It keeps you sane.
The podcast is also a creative outlet, and it helps. I love recording day. Sometimes it's a struggle to get us here because we have a hard week, but we get here and we do this, and art is so important, and it's good for everybody.
Yes.
Whether you think you're good at any art or not.
I sat down yesterday and actually painted, and I'm not a fucking painter, but I bought watercolors.
She tried something new, guys, and it turned out really awesome. It turned out awesome.
I posted it on Instagram.
Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you know this, but you can paint with coffee.
Oh yeah, and tea.
Yes.
Ooh, we should do coffee art soon. Actually, if anybody watches, there's a show called Hometown on Discovery Plus, and I love them very much. But Erin Napier is an artist, and in one of the recent episodes, she did tea art.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for a tea farm. I thought it was pretty cool. So,
got to get my reading glasses on.
She just turned into Superwoman.
Oh boy. So yeah. Oh, and I started a friendship bracelet.
Damn, girl.
Because why not?
This girl is on fire. Fire this week. It's amazing.
Yeah. You know.
Just keep going. It's because she has a boyfriend.
What?
I said it's because she has a boyfriend.
That's why I'm doing more things.
It brings out the happiness.
Yes, I am happy.
If anybody's watching.
Ooh. We call those jazz arms, not hands.
That was like the whole body influence.
So, podcast. We're here to talk about true crime.
Newscaster. Okay. Do it.
Trigger warnings, child abuse, spousal abuse, rape, and murder.
Oof.
And my title is triggering in itself.
Oh God. I'm scared.
It's the Campus Rapist.
Jesus. What the? Somebody just kill this dude.
Well, I think your brain is going to explode with this one, to be honest, just because of all the things.
Gearing up.
There's so many things. So in 1977, a man by the name of Billy Milligan was arrested on multiple counts of felony charges, and they included rape, robbery, and kidnapping. The crimes happened at Ohio State University, and the victims were raped in their vehicles in the campus parking lots. So he went up to them with a gun or knife and told them to get in the car. And he even got one lady to drive him somewhere. like he was having a date. Like, here, I raped you by gunpoint. Now drive me to go get food.
And this was in 70s, you said?
Yeah, 1977.
Jeez.
And so evidence led to Billy Milligan due to the fingerprints he left inside of the vehicle on the window of one of the cars. So he was arrested and sent to jail. And while he was in jail, he would cry like a scared kid and say he had no idea why he was even there because he had no memory of doing bad things.
Bullshit. That's some bullshit.
Oh, it gets interesting. So he had two public defenders, Gary Schweikart.
I actually know it's Schweikart. Yeah.
Schweikart.
I know people here with that last name.
Well, it is Ohio that this is from. And Judy Stevenson. So Gary Schweikart and Judy Stevenson
might be related to my husband, Stevenson. Okay.
When they were doing interviews with Billy, they would notice significant changes in him and his demeanor and the way he talked during questioning.
Okay.
Like he would switch. These changes led to them deciding he needed a psychiatric evaluation. And the doctor that came in, the first one, believed that Billy had multiple personalities.
Which is a debunked thing now. Doesn't exist.
We'll get into it.
Word.
There was a woman by the name of Cornelia Wilbur. She was a psychoanalyst.
Okay.
But she's a doctor. And she had studied a girl a few years before. And she claimed that she had 16 personalities. And a book and movie adaptation of the girl's life was created and called Sybil.
Shit.
Have you seen that?
No.
It came out in like 76. It's the story of a young woman who had been abused by her mother as a child and as a result had a mental breakdown and created multiple personalities to help her survive in life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Right. And side note, there was a book years later that basically recanted her story. And the girl said that she fabricated the multiple personalities to appease Dr. Wilbur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
The woman died in 1998.
Okay.
But it would still, I think it'd still be an interesting story to read about. But anyways, Dr. George Harding was a psychiatrist that was at the Harding Hospital where he was being treated and evaluated while they were trying to figure out if he could stand trial or not.
Right.
And that doctor called in the female doctor, Cornelia Wilbur, to help him study Billy. So during their studies, it was about 7 months, but both doctors concluded that Billy was incapable of standing trial due to his dissociative identity disorder or multiple personalities.
Right.
Dr. Wilbur evaluated Billy for a long period of time, and up until her evaluation, Billy says that he had no idea about his disorder. He didn't know that he had personalities. And I'll talk about it later, but in this documentary I watched, he's either really freaking good actor or I don't know. There were switches you could see in the interviews of him like his eyes and face, and it was very interesting to watch.
Maybe it was a demon.
Maybe he was possessed.
Who knows?
Who knows? So anyways, Billy is quoted in saying, "I do things and I don't remember because I'm asleep. People tell me I do things, bad things." At first, he was diagnosed with 10 personalities, one being Reagan, who admitted to the robberies that was committed in his life. And Reagan was a Serbian. He had a Serbian accent.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
He could change his accent and everything.
He also had a personality that was named Arthur that had a British accent.
Jeez.
And there was also one personality named Adelena who admitted to the rapes, and she was a female personality inside Billy, and apparently a lesbian. So
sorry, I'm laughing.
I know.
I just thought of a show that I wish was still happening. And if you haven't seen it, you should watch what is available of it because it was really good. And it's Toni Collette.
Yes.
In the United States of Terra.
It's a great show.
You've seen that? Oh my God.
Yes.
United States of Terra. If you have not seen it, people, just watch it. She's fucking literally on fire. She's such a fucking phenomenal actor.
She is a great actress.
I love her so much. And while we're on the subject of her, real quick, Pieces of Her on Netflix, really good. Watch it.
Okay, then.
Yes.
I will.
Do it. You'll like it.
I have Netflix.
Yes, you do. I know this because it's like your Netflix account logged in North Carolina on a computer. And I'm like, cool, it was Kristen. What? Your family?
I know. Thank you.
Yeah. They're like, only give your information to family. I'm like, she is. God.
Right? All of the personalities said that they would keep him asleep due to Billy wanting to wake and commit suicide.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like the actual human, Billy, was barely Billy.
Okay.
He's saying that all these personalities would take over and he would just be asleep.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So his psychiatrist wanted to learn how to help him cope and wanted them to get rid of the other personalities by fusing them into one personality, that being a Billy. So that was what they were trying to work on. Family and friends said he would have issues with changing personalities since he was little, and they would notice small changes in how he reacted to things or the way he spoke.
Very interesting. Like, yeah. I'm sure, like, as a psychiatrist, this was just like such a fucking interesting study.
There were so many people involved with this.
It's wild.
Yeah. Several of his friends just thought that he was being funny when he changed his accent and didn't have any idea that he possibly had dissociative identity disorder, or DID.
Oh, Kristen just changed personalities. See it? Did you hear it? All right, carry on.
So, who was Billy Milligan? Was he some kind of grand con artist just trying to get out of trouble for his violent crimes? Or was he legitimately mentally ill and had multiple personality disorder?
I don't know what to believe.
Right?
That he did it from a child, and that
Yeah, so that's why I have issue, because like when they were playing, or when he was, I think when he was like 14, his
but like,
mom sent
how
him
do
to
you
a psychiatrist to get
how do you
some sort
turn
of
into
evaluation.
a Serbian guy at 14 or even at 8? Like, I'm sorry, but like, what?
Yeah,
That's
it's wild.
just insanity to me. And it makes me believe multiple personalities exist. Oh no.
Oh boy.
This is going to be a mind fuck.
I told you. So let's start at the beginning, shall we?
We shall.
Billy was born Valentine's Day, 1955.
Aww.
In Miami Beach to his mother, Dorothy Sands, and her second husband, Johnny Morrison.
Yep.
Billy's mother was originally from Ohio and had married a man named Dick Jones, but they didn't have a good relationship and she wanted to become a singer. So she divorced him and moved to Miami, Florida.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, during that time, you could go to the Copacabana and sing your little heart out.
In like really cool dresses. Okay.
Right? It was in Florida working as a singer that she met a man named Johnny Morrison, who was a comedian. So they were all at the same nightclubs, you know.
Comedians when.
And but sadly, it did not turn out very good. They had 3 children together, though: a son, Jim, born in 1953, Billy, born in 1955, and a daughter, Kathy Jo, born in 1956.
They had a son named Jim Morrison.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he still is alive to this day.
Nice.
Old Jim Morrison.
What a good name.
And he did not change his last name like Billy did.
Okay.
Or he went back. I'm not sure. Anyways, the children's father struggled with alcoholism and depression. And as we know, a lot of times comedians come from a dark place. And a lot of comedians are funny because they're turning tragedy into laughter.
Most comedians.
Yes. Yeah. So he gambled a lot as well. So he had a gambling addiction, alcoholism, depression. He gambled a lot, drank a lot. And in 1959, he committed suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning.
Fuck.
Yeah. He had had a suicide attempt a few months prior to that on pills or something, but Dorothy found him and got him to the hospital. But later on that year, he still ended his life.
Jeez.
So their mother, Dorothy, she's now a single mom of 3 kids. She couldn't support them on her own. So she moved back home away from Miami to Lancaster, Ohio, which is where she was from.
Okay.
She, in the middle of this, married her first husband for like a year.
Interesting.
But then divorced him. And in 1962, she met a man named Chalmer Milligan. Chalmer is quite a name, by the way.
That is a fucking name.
Chalmer had 2 daughters of his own. So now they were a family of 7.
Fucking Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately, Chalmer was also an alcoholic, but he was the worst kind of alcoholic because he was an abusive alcoholic. Billy and his siblings never really knew when he would lash out at them. And his mother recalls that Billy would take as much of the abuse away from her as possible. And the abuse affected Billy more than anyone else in the home.
Yeah.
Dorothy is quoted in saying that she would tolerate the abuse because back then a single mom couldn't take care of a family financially.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really hard back then. It's still very hard. I am a single mom of 3 kids, and it is very difficult because if you step outside of your budget,
Right.
you're screwed.
Well, and considering
it takes months to get back.
the generation she's from,
You
had to be married. It was a thing, like, Ben's grandma,
yeah.
her first husband died when Ben's mom was 6 months old.
Oof.
And by the end of that year, she was remarried to someone else who adopted her children, and they had kids together as well. And, he lived till, he just died in 2020.
Yeah.
So, back then, that's all she knew how to do was be a mom and a homemaker.
I tell you what.
And let me tell you,
I can't
that woman,
do that full time.
She's a badass. That woman is a badass.
Yeah. And I say I'm a single mom, but I have a huge support system.
You do have a great.
My parents moved here. My mom and my stepdad moved here right before Harper was born.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months later, I was on my own with the 3 kids. So having my parents here to help me has been a lifesaver. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have.
You would be in Ohio.
Yeah. And I would not be a cop, probably.
No, you wouldn't have been able to finish school.
No.
Like things would be so
many. Yeah, there's so many things that, yeah. So if you're lucky out there, people, to have support, just appreciate them.
Yes.
So we digressed, but now we're back. Yeah. So she tolerated the abuse because she needed the help financially. Right. Whether she liked her husband or not, she had to stay with him. And unfortunately, Billy endured unfathomable torture for years. And he recollects later that there was also sexual abuse, like sodomy as well.
Son of a bitch.
Billy remembers a moment where Chalmer would make, this is hard, guys. Why do people do terrible things to people? I could never understand. Especially, but anyways,
children.
He would make him dig a hole, like a grave hole, lay in it, and he would put like this large, probably 4 or 5 inch diameter pipe over his head, and then Chalmer would pee down it on top of him.
Is he fucking R. Kelly? Come on.
He wasn't just an abuser. That's and disgusting. A pedophile. He legit tortured this child.
Yeah, that's like a different breed of abuse.
It's a whole nother level, and it's sick and twisted and awful. The barn at the back of the house was also where a lot of the unknown abuse occurred. And it happened away from the other children and Dorothy. So he probably, Chalmer would probably be like, all right, bud, you gotta come help me with this wood back here. And then he'd have to help him with the wood. The other kind of wood.
I want to know more about this Chalmer guy.
Yeah, well, he died.
Like
But
his past. I want to know
yeah.
what created that monster.
Yeah. I don't know where people like this come from, except they were abused themselves.
Yeah.
Typically. I mean, not all the
Yes.
time, but
Typically it's, yeah.
Billy's sister Kathy Jo remembers when Billy was 14 or 50. 14 or 50?
It's okay. We all knew what you meant.
14 or 15. He told her this elaborate plan to kill their stepfather. But the next day, when she brought it up, he had no recollection of talking to his sister about killing him.
Shit.
He's like, "What are you talking about? I never said that."
Coping mechanism created a new personality, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Disturbing.
In 1972, at 17 years old, Billy was arrested for rape and assault, but he doesn't remember doing it or what happened, and due to lack of evidence, was released. In 1974, at 19, he started robbing people for money. And in 1977 is when the rapes occurred at the Ohio State University. So this timeline is just to show a little bit of his proclivity to do violent criminal behavior. But it came out that it was Reagan doing the robberies and Adelina doing the rapes, and
Right.
Billy had no memory, and he had, how could he have control of his mind and body?
Right. Yeah. When he's literally sleeping. Okay.
Yeah. So back to the current issue, which was his evaluation. And
Right.
due to the evaluation and his longstanding traumatic childhood and history, his psychiatrists at that time and the public defenders tried to get him found incompetent to stand trial for the current charges of rape, robbery, and kidnapping. He was, in fact, found competent, though, to stand trial. Like, they ruled him competent, but he decided to waive a jury trial and just have the judge stand over his case.
Okay.
And for those charges, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Huh.
So someone said he was competent to stand trial, but then found him
Guilty.
insane.
Yeah. Interesting.
So a lot of this story goes back and forth. Like, I feel like nobody could really say whether or not
Well, and I
this
think
or that.
also back then they didn't believe in this kind of shit.
There were a lot of skeptics.
They thought, psychologists and all that stuff, they thought they were all just quacks.
Right.
They didn't think that there was any real science there. So, oof.
So because of his insanity, guilty or not guilty, whatever, they sent him to the Harding Hospital, which is where he was already staying and being evaluated. So the judge said he could stay there for his treatment and care. He was observed for months and months, and during this time, he calls them the undesirables. The undesirables came out. So he went from having 10 personalities to 24.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy's story became very sensationalized, and it kind of like the original doctors were there for his treatment and wanted to figure out what happened, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it became so sensationalized that getting him actual help kind of went to the wayside. It was more like,
Got it.
here's Billy Milligan, the many faces, and
Right. Yeah. Well, and
they got caught up.
got it caught up in the media. Yeah.
Right.
We've got a new personality today.
Even the staff at the hospital, they treated him much differently than the other patients. And he ended up getting a lot of freedoms. So he started selling his paintings because he was an artist. Apparently he was very good at his art.
I mean,
And he started selling his paintings, and then he even had so much freedom as to buy himself a car, and he would get to get out of the hospital and do whatever he wanted.
yeah, let's let a rapist out. Cool.
So there were some politicians, a couple of up and coming politicians, that did not like this happening in their town.
Good.
And so they created new legislation that stated a doctor could not give permission for any patient to leave any facilities, but it had to be a judge.
Right. Good.
So the judge had to give an order that said, yes, he can leave. Yes, this person can have freedom. So with that also came the politicians sending him back to prison. Like, he went to a prison for criminally insane. And basically, because he was now at a prison, his treatment changed, and he was no longer being treated for dissociative identity disorder. And they changed his medication and caused him to fracture more. Like, he was off the rails. He was losing days. He was losing months. Or so he says. Like, he would think that it was Tuesday and it ended up being the following, like a week later. The prison doctor didn't believe in the DID. So he just treated him for schizophrenia. And that doctor was named Dr. Lindner. During his stay at the hospital, he just got crazier. Just
right. It sounds like he
lost
just
control.
Worse. Yeah.
Yeah, he lost control. He did reach out to a man named Daniel Keyes. He was an author. He wanted to have him write a story, and he did end up writing a story called The Minds of Billy Milligan, and it was released in 1981, the year of my birth.
Hey, it was a good year.
It was a good year. I'd like to say it was a good year. At that time, somehow he was able to go back to the Athens hospital.
Okay.
So he went back to a hospital instead of staying in the prison.
Right.
But while he was at the hospital, he married a woman who he met that was a sister of an inmate at the prison.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so he was allowed to marry, but 51 days after the marriage, she left him and took some royalties from the book sales.
Shocking.
Like, I'll take some of that. We were married.
A prenup.
We were married. Yeah. In 1986, 5 years later, somehow the prison doctor, Dr. Lindner, that was overseeing his care, became the doctor at the Athens hospital.
That's interesting, considering he doesn't fucking believe in any of this shit.
Which is almost like, did the man have some kind of, like, was he out to get Billy?
Kind of feels like it a little bit.
He kept following him. It was very, very odd.
Maybe he was stalking him.
Well, in 1986, Dr. Lindner wanted to start doing shock treatment on Billy.
Oh, fuck.
So one day, Billy left the hospital to escape because he says he had a genuine fear of being at the hospital now that he was under the care of Dr. Lindner again. He felt this new treatment was a ploy to keep him institutionalized.
I agree.
He said that he'd come back to the hospital if he had his old care team back and Dr. Lindner was gone. And that didn't happen. So instead, he took a trip with his friend James Murray and they drove to Colorado.
Great.
Yeah. So now, not only did he just up and leave his hospital, but
Doesn't have
he
his
left the state.
medications.
Right.
Uh-oh.
So after arriving in Denver, his friend James flew back to Ohio and Billy stayed there. He was gone so long from the hospital, he was now a fugitive from custody, and the FBI got involved.
Oh boy.
He, I guess, got wind of this and decided to fly to Seattle to see his brother Jim. And then he kept saying, "You got to get me to Canada, blah, blah, blah." And Jim was like, "Well, let's go check out this place called Bellingham." So he moved to Bellingham, and his friend James had gotten him a new social security number or something. So he changed his name to Christopher Carr.
Got a new identity.
Yeah. So Christopher Carr wanted his brother to help him start a new life so he could have some sort of enjoyment. But his brother didn't know the state, the actual, he didn't really know his brother. He didn't know how he could just go off the rails, and he didn't know his mental state at all.
Great.
But he did keep a journal of all of his interactions, all his phone calls with his brother. And they got him an apartment, and he ended up with a roommate named Michael Madden. So he did that for a few months in this apartment. And then October 31st, because of his mental state, he didn't have his medication. He started to kind of go off the rails, and his brother and his friend James were talking about his condition and said, "All right, let's get him to this hospital and I will mail medication." So he mailed medication to the hospital, but Billy never showed up.
Great.
Instead, he took off to Florida. So he went, woo!
He became Florida man.
He's the original Florida man. So while he was in Florida, he called his brother, and he sounded weird and just kept saying, like, his brother was like, "You've got to come back. People are looking for you. You really need some help." And he said, "Well, it's all over. I'm at a law enforcement convention." So something tells me, like, he wanted to get caught, picked up, arrested, something. He just laid himself out there. And his brother did tell the authorities where he was, so he turned him in. Mid-November 1986, he was arrested without incident in Florida. But during his stay in the Florida jail, it was found that Michael Madden was missing. So his roommate from Bellingham was missing.
Oh boy.
The authorities put two and two together that Billy was Christopher Carr and was the last person with Michael Madden. Apparently, Billy was taking his government checks and cashing them so he would have money. But there was no body found. There's never been a body of Michael Madden.
For real?
Serious.
Look.
The only evidence was a pair of glasses smashed with blood droplets.
Well, that's something.
Back then, they didn't have DNA.
Right.
Now, I don't see why they can't. I guess they won't pursue it any further.
Right. If they're all
Now.
already gone, I mean.
Yeah. So to this day, he's still missing because what they had was suspicious circumstances, but no real evidence. And they had no evidence that Billy murdered Michael Madden.
Okay.
So Billy was sent back to Ohio on extradition and then put under the care of Dr. Lidner again.
Great. That piece of shit shouldn't have any ability to treat anyone.
No. So during this time, Billy decided to go on a hunger strike for 34 days.
Sounds about right.
And then the hospital brought in a different doctor.
Took him long enough.
Yeah. This doctor decided that Billy had fused his personalities and no longer had multiple personalities, and he was just Billy.
Okay.
Then the courts deemed him able to leave the hospital because they said he was no longer a danger to society.
They fell for this shit. They fell for
What?
it.
Like, seriously? This is just...
He murdered.
This is a roller coaster of shit. In 1988, Billy was living his normal life, as normal as possible. And he had a girlfriend named Tracy. So Tracy one night called Billy's brother-in-law, who was husband to Kathy Jo.
Okay.
And told him that Billy had threatened her life. While Tracy was with the brother-in-law, Billy called the brother-in-law and was very upset, yelling over the phone. And he was telling him how he could kill both of them. And he could get away with it because he was Billy Milligan, the man with 24 personalities.
Great.
So was it what like it's
did he make it
so
all up?
Much
was it a big ruse?
Was it
just get away with rape and murder?
During the same conversation, they were talking about a man named Dwayne Cox who had been missing since 1979 in Ohio. His body has never been found. But after he went missing in 1979, Billy had all this money.
Probably fed him to catfish.
And he couldn't account for it. So here we have a man who's committed multiple rapes, robberies, and probably 2 murders.
Right.
And he's never been convicted of the crimes.
Yeah.
Side note, Billy went to try, he was getting recruited by James Cameron to make a movie of his life. But during their meetings and talks of the movie, it was found that other people had rights to his life story.
Oh.
Yeah. So the movie that was going to star, what's his name?
Uh-oh.
He was in What's Eating Gilbert Grape and
Leo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, it's probably not Johnny Depp.
Leonardo DiCaprio. He was set to star as Billy in this movie.
He would have done
They were legit getting this movie going.
He would have done such a fucking good job.
Yeah, he would have been great. But James Cameron went to Fox and they said, nope, we're not doing this because other people have rights to his life. And so the movie went away.
Well,
they never created it. So in the end of Billy's life, or after this movie, he had to file for bankruptcy.
Okay.
Because the state of Ohio was also suing him for his life story. Because they wanted him to pay all of his medical bills.
Right.
There was like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars he was being billed for. So somehow he was getting royalties for the book sales, and the state of Ohio was able to get those royalties to pay the bills. So he was now bankrupt, and he never really had any money except for paintings he sold.
Right.
And in his last few years of life, he told his sister, Kathy Jo, he said, I need help. And she bought him a trailer and lived on the property. And his older niece, like, would help him be a caregiver, because in 2012 he was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
And then he died in 2014 at the age of 59.
Right.
So that was a wild ride, number one.
Yeah.
But nobody will ever really truly know what happened to those poor victims, and the victims' families have to live out the rest of their lives not knowing.
Right.
But everyone deep down knows that Billy was to blame. So did he really have all these personalities, or did he become a narcissistic sociopath who could manipulate everyone around him to create an elaborate life, so he never was in trouble for anything?
Right. It's it's all disturbing.
Right?
Very disturbing.
And I think deep down we know, because of his traumatic childhood, he either created these personas to help him survive, or he was just Billy and there were no other personalities.
Right.
But, nobody will really know.
Yeah.
There is a really great documentary on Netflix. It's a 4-part series, and it's called Monsters Inside the 24 Faces of Billy Milligan. So if you want to hear more, and the doctors are on there, they give testimony. And
nice.
Yeah, there's family and friends, his best friend, they're all in this documentary giving interviews about him.
Nice.
It was really good and very interesting and very weird, but also there's no closure.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I'm left wanting to know more, but we can't ever really know.
Unless those bodies are found someday. You know what I mean? Probably, it could happen.
It could.
They could also be John Doe's somewhere, because there was no DNA back then.
Yeah. They could be in Potter's Field. Just
right.
bones.
Yeah, sorry, Dwight called me.
Oh,
I'm texting Ben to see what the heck's going on. Why is he calling me? Ben's here.
That's funny. My resources were Netflix,
Word.
NPR, Columbus Monthly, and Wikipedia.
Wiki.
I didn't get much from there, but the Netflix documentary is like, I legit all week was watching episodes, and I have pages of notes because I was trying to. This one took me a while to formulate, get a concise story. I hope that it goes well.
Oh, it went well.
Yeah, I hope the listeners understand it.
That was a wild ride. And it's very interesting to really ponder, like, was he really making it all up? Did he fake all of this from a young age? Because thinking about your craziest behaviors, looking through history at people who are serial killers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They can start when they're teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that seems like a legit thing if he came up with this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I'm thinking back, like maybe he did have these personalities, and maybe when he so-called fused, he now had all the memories of all the personalities. So when
Right.
he was having that phone call and doing the bad stuff again, maybe the bad personalities were left in
Right.
there, but he was like all one person now.
It's very interesting to me.
So maybe he did have the disorder, and then, I don't know. It's crazy.
Interesting. It's very strange. Very strange indeed.
This coffee's good. Thank you for sending it.
Word.
So that's all I got.
All right. Well, coffee.
And all the books, books that I listed too are available and read. And
I hope everybody was taking notes. Just kidding. So yeah, that's it. Till next time, check out our merch store, please. Thanks.
Oh, please buy some things.
Yeah, please support us. Thank you.
Support.
And until next time, ta-ta!
For now.
Thanks for listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts. If you love our podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. This helps us more than you know. If you really love us and want to support us, go to our website at www.crimecoffeeandcrafts.com. From there, you can join our Patreon, shop our merch, and find us on social media.